The rooftop sparkled under warm lighting. Glasses chimed in celebration, and laughter flowed like the champagne being poured. I stood in the middle of it all. Colleagues, old friends, and my wife, Amber, surrounded me in cheerful admiration. This was supposed to be my moment. After 16 grueling years of backbreaking hours, mental strain, and countless personal sacrifices, I'd finally made partner at the firm. It was the kind of night you dream about, until she opened her mouth. "Let's raise our glasses," someone called out. I lifted my flute, ready to thank those who had helped me along the way. But before I could say a word, Amber stepped forward in a slinky red dress that shimmered under the lights. She smiled, a dazzling, sharp-edged kind of smile, and raised her glass high. "To my husband," she began in the sweetest voice she could muster, locking eyes with me. The crowd hushed, bracing for a heartfelt tribute. "To the biggest loser I've ever known." The room exploded. Some gasped, others chuckled awkwardly. A few laughed outright, more out of confusion than humor. That's how it goes. When a beautiful woman says something cruel, people tend to treat it like a joke. I didn't flinch. My face held the same smile, but something inside me fractured. Amber wasn't finished. "I mean, really," she went on, her voice thick with mockery. "He works nonstop like he's changing the world. Thinks he's hot stuff now. But if any of you knew what a pathetic clown he really is behind closed doors, well, cheers." Another wave of laughter, bigger, bolder. My ears buzzed, my throat clenched dry, and something inside me, something I'd silenced for years, finally snapped. But I didn't storm out. I didn't argue. I smiled, because none of this surprised me. I already knew. I knew about the affair. The secret flat she paid for using money from our joint account. The fabricated business trips. The gym weekends that were actually hotel escapes with Caleb, her so-called trainer. She believed this was her final blow, her peak moment of power. But I had already started playing a very different game. And when I was through, Amber wouldn't just regret her little speech. She'd regret the day she ever thought I was weak. Chapter 2. Quiet before collapse. The night carried on like her toast had never happened. People clinked glasses, shared jokes, and posed for selfies. My boss gave a heartfelt speech. Amber blew me a kiss from across the room as if her public humiliation of me had been a cheeky inside joke. I kept smiling, shaking hands, and posing for pictures with people who probably pitied me now. But while they sipped champagne, I was calculating every next move. By the time dessert was served, I'd already placed 2 quiet phone calls. One went to my lawyer, the other to a man named Reed Walker, a private investigator who was incredibly skilled at exposing secrets without ever being seen. What Amber didn't realize was that I had suspected her for some time. Her cold touches, the unexplained spending, the way her laughter changed when her phone lit up, especially whenever Caleb's name appeared. I told myself I was overthinking, that maybe I was imagining things. Until one evening, while she showered, I checked her purse and found hotel key card. I memorized the room number and address. 2 days later, Reed sent me photographs. Amber in lingerie, cozy on a balcony, her arms wrapped around someone who certainly wasn't her husband. I didn't scream. I didn't even cry. I began assembling my revenge. Quietly and efficiently, I met with attorneys, protected my financial assets, shifted funds into personal trusts, changed insurance beneficiaries. I was methodical. Then came the listening devices. Tiny mics placed around our apartment. All legal. It was my residence too. After all, within 48 hours, I had audio files. One stood out. Amber's voice, giggling. "Don't worry. He's so weak. He'll never leave me. He still thinks I'm his trophy." Those words sealed her fate. That same night, as she snuggled up next to me in bed, still tipsy from the party, she laughed and murmured, "Come on, babe. It was a joke. Lighten up." I kissed her forehead gently, turned out the light, and stared at the ceiling in silence. She had no idea the countdown had already begun. By this time next week, she wouldn't recognize her life. Chapter 3. The beginning of her end. Amber thought she'd won. She believed she had me wrapped around her finger. That delusion would be her downfall. Just days after the party, I filed for divorce. quietly and precisely. The paperwork outlined infidelity, emotional cruelty, and slander. My lawyer assembled a full case. Photos, recordings, account transfers, and even a statement from Reed, who documented everything. This wasn't just a broken marriage. This was betrayal in every possible form. She had siphoned money from our shared finances into hidden bank accounts. She had racked up debt in both our names. And she had bet everything on the idea that I'd be too passive to ever leave. But I wasn't just planning to walk away. I was going to dismantle the illusion she'd built for everyone else. Step 1. Her career. Amber held a high-level position in HR at a tech firm. Caleb, her lover, worked there too, as her direct report. I knew the company had strict policies about undisclosed relationships between employees, especially when one holds authority over the other. So I submitted an anonymous complaint. No drama, no theatrics, just facts, attached with a neat file of timestamps, texts, and photos of the two of them embracing while wearing their company lanyards at a hotel bar. 1 week later, HR called them both in. Amber was fired immediately for breaching ethics policies. Kayla was demoted and suspended pending a formal review. And just like that, her perfect little world began to crack. She stormed to the front door like a tornado, slamming it behind her, her voice echoing with rage. She cursed the office, shouted about conspiracies, and insisted someone was out to destroy her career. I kept my face soft, nodded with concern, wrapped her in a comforting embrace, because I wanted her to feel secure, just before everything collapsed beneath her. Step 2. Her circle turns cold. Next came the personal fallout. I sent a carefully packaged envelope to her mother, a woman who had always seen Amber as the star of the family, the achiever, the golden child who married well. Inside the parcel was a flash drive identical to the one my attorney had reviewed. Photos, recordings, receipts. No dramatic accusations. Just a single typed sentence. You deserve to know the truth about who you're defending. Her phone started pinging nonstop. Calls, texts, messages she couldn't explain. One by one, the pillars of her social world cracked. Her brother unfollowed her on every platform. Her college roommate blocked her. But the real blow came when her mother stood crying on our doorstep, screaming, "How could you do this? You destroyed everything." I stood in the background, silent. I didn't comfort her. I didn't intervene, because this wasn't vengeance for a single night of humiliation. It was justice, long overdue for years of quiet disrespect. Step 3, the home she lost. While Amber unraveled, I moved out calmly, efficiently. The lease was solely under my name. Every piece of furniture, purchased by me. She had no legal claim to the apartment. One evening, while she was away at her sister's place crying over her wreckage, I hired a moving company. The locks were changed, and by sunrise, I was gone. When she returned, she found nothing left but a fold-out chair, an empty wine glass on the floor, an envelope taped to the refrigerator door. Inside it, a copy of our filed divorce documents, a printout showing our joint account drained to zero, and a note written in ink, simple and sharp. You toasted my downfall in front of everyone. Now raise your glass to your own. Happy endings belong to the honest. Chapter 5, The Fall from Grace. Amber didn't take her unraveling quietly. She started calling nonstop, sending messages at all hours. We need to talk. I mean any of it. You're being cruel, John. The irony nearly choked me. This was the same woman who humiliated me publicly, betrayed me repeatedly, and now painted me as heartless for no longer cleaning up after her destruction. But I still wasn't done. The gala, weeks after our official separation, my firm hosted its annual black tie fundraiser, a grand affair filled with donors, celebrities, journalists, and major clients. I didn't go alone. I walked in beside Samantha, smart, composed, effortlessly stunning. Not a rebound, not a stunt. Samantha was a marketing executive from a partner agency, respected, warm, and sharp. She treated everyone with grace, especially me. Cameras flashed as we entered. I wore the navy tailored suit Amber once mocked as too much for someone with my background. That night, it fit like it was made for the man I had become. Samantha leaned toward me and whispered, "That woman by the bar has been staring for 5 minutes." I followed her gaze. Amber. She looked nothing like the woman I once knew. Her eyes were hollow, her dress a cheap imitation of the elegance she used to wear. Her hair hung in unkempt strands, and standing beside her was Caleb, wrinkled blazer, defeated posture. She saw me. I raised my glass in her direction. "Cheers, Amber." Her expression twisted. She charged toward me, fury glowing in her eyes. "You think this is some kind of joke?" she hissed. I didn't flinch. "No," I replied calmly. "I think this is justice." "You ruined my life," she spat. I looked her dead in the eyes. "No, you ruined mine. I just stopped picking up the pieces." She screamed something unintelligible and hurled her wine glass. But Samantha had already stepped between us, pulling me slightly aside. The wine struck a nearby security guard. Within seconds, Amber and Caleb were being escorted out while stunned guests stared in silence. And that was the end of her illusion, not as a charismatic wife with everything, but as a bitter warning. A woman undone by her own arrogance, stripped of the mask she used to fool the world. Chapter 6, Finality. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. I walked away with everything. The apartment, the money, the network, and the peace of mind. Amber? She moved in with her sister, worked retail, and posted vague quotes online blaming toxic men for her downfall. Caleb disappeared shortly after the gala, unable to handle the fallout. Their fairy tale had evaporated. As for Samantha and me, we took things slow. No drama, no performance. Just two people enjoying the presence of someone who actually saw them. And for the first time in years, I was free. Free from deception. Free from walking on eggshells. Amber once raised a glass and called me the biggest loser she ever knew. Now, every time she looks in the mirror, she's reminded of the man who didn't scream, didn't beg, just walked away and left her with nothing but her own shadow. Final line. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't about retaliation. It's letting them live in the mess they created without you in it.